Okay, we really need to talk about debt. I'm not talking about the huge, crazy kind you see in the news. I'm talking about the quiet, everyday kind that just sneaks into our lives. You know, the kind that feels totally normal, but is actually secretly wrecking our financial future. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the most common mistakes that keep people trapped, and, most importantly, how you can break free.
And this quote, it just nails it, doesn't it? We've all been told that some debt is good, that carrying a credit card balance is just how modern life works. But that's the trap. That feeling of normalcy is what gets you. What feels like a tiny, manageable payment today is so often the anchor that holds you back from any real freedom tomorrow.
All right, first up, let's tackle the biggest, most common trap of them all, the minimum payment myth. Seriously, this thing is a masterpiece of illusion. It's perfectly designed to make you feel like you're making progress when really, you're just stuck on a financial treadmill running in place. Come on, we've all been there, right? You get that credit card bill and your eyes go right to that tiny little minimum payment amount. And you think, oh, I can handle that. It feels like you're doing the responsible thing, but that feeling of relief is exactly what they want you to feel. It's the path of least resistance, and believe me, it comes with a massive hidden price tag. Okay, so look at this. This lays out the two different worlds you can live in perfectly. Over on the left, that's the financial hamster wheel. You're making payments, you're running, but you're going nowhere fast because the interest is piling up. But on the right, that's the ladder to freedom. Every single extra dollar you pay is another rung up, getting you that much closer to being free. It's the difference between just motion and actual progress. So how do you actually get off that wheel and start climbing the ladder? It's a simple 3-step plan. First, and this is non-negotiable, always pay more than the minimum. Even an extra $20 helps starve that interest monster. Second, figure out which debt has the highest interest rate and attack that one first. That's where you're bleeding the most money. And finally, pick a strategy that works for you, like the debt snowball or avalanche method, to build some serious, unstoppable momentum. And that first mistake often leads right into this next one, borrowing without a plan. This is when you take on debt with absolutely no exit strategy. And let me tell you, this doesn't just create a financial problem, it creates a huge mental and emotional weight that just hangs over you. Just think about it for a second. The last time you took on some debt, did you have a specific date circled on the calendar for when it would be gone? Or did it just kind of join the pile of other stuff you're planning to deal with, someday? Because someday is where financial stress goes to live. And the consequences of this are so real, and they go way beyond just the numbers on a spreadsheet. It's that constant, low-level anxiety humming in the background. It's watching your credit score take a hit. But the worst part? It's seeing your biggest life goals, like buying a home or actually being able to retire, just get pushed further and further away. But here's the good news. You can absolutely take back control. First things first, you have to face the beast. Make a list of every single debt. How much, the interest rate, the due date. The point isn't to scare yourself, it's to arm yourself with the facts. Second, set a monthly repayment goal that's realistic, something you can actually stick with. And finally, let technology do the heavy lifting for you. Automate those payments. It's the easiest way to kill late fees and build that consistency. Now for our third mistake. This one's a little different. It's more of a psychological trap. And oh man, is it everywhere. I call it the I deserve it debt trap. It's that little voice in your head that says, hey, you've worked hard, you've earned a little reward, so it's fine to put it on the credit card. I mean, let's be real here. That amazing vacation you posted on Instagram, that shiny new phone, that dinner with friends that you couldn't really afford, where did the money come from? And now with services like buy now, pay later, it's easier than ever. They have mastered the art of temptation, completely blurring that critical line between what you can actually afford and what you can just get your hands on right now. So let's break down what's really going on here. With those unnecessary loans, it's not just the interest you're paying, it's the opportunity cost. Every single dollar you pay in interest is a dollar you didn't save or invest for your own future. And with buy now, pay later, that's death by 1,000 cuts. It's all these tiny, easy payments that suddenly multiply into one massive, unmanageable headache. The way out of this trap is actually a pretty simple change in habit. Before you buy anything, just pause for a second and ask yourself this one question. Can I pay for this, in full, with cash, right now? If the answer is no, that's your trigger for step 2. Start a savings goal for it. This one little shift changes your whole mindset from I want it now to I'm working towards it. And hey, if you absolutely have to use buy now, pay later, treat it with the seriousness of a real loan, because that's exactly what it is. This brings us to our final and maybe the most expensive mistake of all, the interest rate illusion. This is what happens when you don't truly understand the real price of borrowing money. And it's a misunderstanding that can literally cost you tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. No joke.
So the engine driving this whole illusion is something called compound interest. Now, you've probably heard that it's a miracle when it's working for you in your investments, but when it's working against you in your debt, it's a relentless, destructive force. You're not just paying interest on the money you borrowed, you start paying interest on your interest. It becomes this massive snowball of debt just rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger. I mean, just look at the difference on this chart. That small bar on the left, that's what you actually borrowed. But that huge bar on the right, that's what you can end up paying back. See that giant gap between them? That's the power of interest working against you. That is pure profit for the bank, built entirely out of your money over time.
So, how do you fight this illusion? It's simple. First, from now on, the APR, the annual percentage rate, is the very first number you look for, always. Second, ignore the low monthly payment for a minute and calculate the total cost of the loan over its entire life. That's the real price tag. And finally, like we said before, pour every spare dollar you have into your highest interest debt. That's how you stop the bleeding the fastest.
Okay, we've gone through the big four: the minimum payment myth, borrowing without a plan, the I deserve it trap, and the interest rate illusion. We've exposed them. So now, let's talk about the best part: reclaiming your freedom.
If you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Debt itself isn't necessarily the enemy. It's our approach to it that gets us into trouble. It can be a tool, or it can be a trap. By understanding how these traps work and by putting a real plan in place, you make a fundamental shift. You go from being controlled by your debt to being in control of your finances. The power really is in your hands. So I'll leave you with this question. Look, you don't have to fix everything overnight. The journey to being debt-free is just a series of small, smart choices made over and over again. So of all the traps we talked about today, which one are you going to commit to escaping first? Answering that question for yourself, that's your first real step toward a brand new financial life.